Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a very, very serious show. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, for those of you guys who've been following this platform for the last few years, you guys know that I've always felt that Nick Wright is by far one of the biggest jokes in all of sports media. I've always felt this. Now, some people think Nick Wright is so smart because maybe he has a big vocabulary, he wears a suit, he has a big beard. So maybe this guy is so intelligent. I think the vast majority of the takes that he has, that he disseminates out there, I think they're just wrong-headed. Sometimes I just think they're flat out idiotic. In most cases, they're just flat out outlandish, right? And it's one of the reasons why he's given himself the moniker, or people have given him the moniker Nick Wrong, because he goes out there and he says a lot of crazy stuff. But for whatever reason, there are a pocket of people out there that consume his content that think that what Nick Wright says is actually enlightened, which to me is really astonishing, because I don't know what that says about their level of intelligence, that this is the guy that they follow. Now, why am I talking about Nick Wright? Well, as you guys know, Nick Wright has been making headlines once again over the last few days for all the wrong reasons. And why has Nick Wright been making headlines? Well, the reason Nick Wright has been making headlines because he took it upon himself to be the only person in the sports media landscape to put the position out there that by Michael Jordan selling his majority ownership stake in the Charlotte Hornets for $3 billion, basically 10xing his money, he believes that this move is an indication that there are actually some low moments, or this particular thing should work against him in the GOAT case. When Nick Wright initially put that point out there, we all roasted him because we were like, how low can you go? You see, here's the thing about Nick, and I hope he sees this video, and I hope people that follow Nick Wright see this video. You see, the thing about Nick Wright is this. We know you're a grifter. We know you're a grifter. We know that the way you gain attention is by saying ridiculous things. We know this. We see through you. Now, some people don't. There are a vast majority of people out there that watch you and they feel like, oh my God, this guy is really saying something. He's really saying something insightful, really, really innovative. I mean, look at his suit. Look at his beard. Look at the words that he's using. He must be so smart. There's some people out there that actually subscribe to some of the nonsense that Nick Wright puts out there, but there are people out there that know you're just up there saying a bunch of nonsense. Now, there's been this rumor that's been circulating around the sports world, which is what? The rumor has always been that Nick Wright is affiliated with Klutch Sports, LeBron James' friend's agency. And the reason Nick Wright goes out there, the reason that he goes out there and says all of these things is because he's an affiliate. But no one could really pinpoint this and actually put out evidence because we didn't know this, right? It's just an assumption. You can't go out there making videos about this based on assumptions. So what happened? God works in a funny way. What happened? Yesterday, going through the internet, I came across a video from Doug Gottlieb. Doug Gottlieb of FS1, Fox Sports 1, right? And Doug Gottlieb, I got to give him credit. He's one of the few people at FS1 that has actually had the balls to go at some of the crazy, wacky takes of some of his colleagues. He did it with Skip Bayless, and he's now doing it with Nick Wright. So I saw this video. It was 8 minute, 50-second video. And it starts off with the title, Doug Gottlieb disputes Nick Wright, saying Michael Jordan's team ownership factors into his legacy. So I click on the video to hear what Doug Gottlieb had to say. And while Doug Gottlieb was speaking, he revealed the truth about Nick Wright. This is one of Nick Wright's colleagues, so he would know this. He revealed the truth about Nick Wright by stating that Nick Wright is actually represented by Klutch Sports. So what we want to do is we want to play exactly what this clip had to say, and we're going to come into, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to tear into this topic. Take a listen to this here.
Here's how I operate. I will, and we have, what does the Fox say? That's on our In the Bonus podcast, which you can download. It goes live right at 5 on the East Coast, 2 on the West Coast. And we play for you a portion of a previous show on Fox Sports Radio or Fox Sports 1, and then we talk about it. But I couldn't let this one go. Nick Wright is Team LeBron, right? Like if LeBron actually needed a media cheerleader, he would have a skirt and pom-poms. And he's made no secret about it. He believes he's the greatest athlete he has ever seen. And Nick's 38 years old, so he wasn't really old enough to truly feel and understand the gravity of the Jordan era. It's all from spoken word and videos and reading. He's a really bright guy, and he's on First Things First, which I think airs right about now on Fox Sports 1. Matter of fact, he's actually repped by Klutch Sports. So he's almost like he can do damage control. And it's not like I think LeBron picks up the phone and says, hey, got my back. But any possible chance of pointing out something negative about Jordan or positive about LeBron, he takes advantage. So I don't know if you guys have seen, there's this internet story that Jordan is selling the team because he shorted the GameStop stock to the tune of $500 million. And this is his way of paying back the guy who's actually going to own the Hornets. And they're overpaying really for the team, kind of as a make good. But Michael Jordan he's still making the draft, but he still has last word in the draft selection. And for now, he's still the owner of the Hornets, but eventually that'll go through and he will pocket $2 billion. This is what Nick Wright said about what he calls the failed ownership of the Charlotte Hornets and how it should reflect on Michael Jordan's resume.
So Michael Jordan sold the Hornets, made a fortune. Michael's been very good at business, from his shoe deals. You know, I know I can see.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Colin, a lot of, it was very unique that, someone bought a pro sports team 20 years ago and made a profit. I mean, I read stories left and right. Yeah, I mean, a guy sold the Arizona Cardinals. He's now on unemployment. Another guy, I mean, it's financially ruinous for many people, but a brilliant businessman like Jordan can make a profit from selling a pro sports team. But go ahead. I interrupted. I'm sorry.
It's a very good point. I mean, Michael, baseball didn't work. The Wizards didn't work. The GM thing didn't work. He's great at basketball, great at selling shoes, and those are qualities. I mean, there's a lot about Michael I like. How do you view him now as the Charlotte GM owner mess? Does it ding the legacy to you?
Okay, so I would like to do a couple things. One is this. Everyone must acknowledge, if they are being honest, that when Jordan took over the Hornets 15 years ago, he turned them into a dynasty, people would use it as evidence of his greatness. Can we all at least agree to that?
Yes.
That if they were awesome, they'd be like, oh, look at him, Jay. Everything he touches turns to gold. Instead, his ownership tenure of the Hornets was identical to his playing tenure when Scottie Pippen wasn't his teammate. 0 postseason series victories. He won 3 games, at least, as a Hornets GM and owner in the playoffs, as opposed to only 1 as a player. But here's my problem. If we would like to judge the greatest player ever purely by, we will evaluate from the day you first set foot on a court to the day you leave the NBA, I'm good with that. But that's never been what it's been for Michael. Michael's had, in some way, because of all the acolytes and sycophants, the best of all worlds. Cool.
So you get the point, okay? You get the point. He wants to use the whole picture to talk about Jordan and who, in fact, is the greatest. I'm going to do something now which should have been done a long time ago. I'm going to tell people that anyone who uses the Scottie Pippen joining him and that Jordan didn't win anything with Scottie Pippen is the dumbest, least connected to reality moment that there is. And I'm going to say it without diminishing how great Scottie became. Because if you were actually alive, which Nick Wright was not, nor was he of age to understand basketball. And full disclosure, I'm 9 years older than Nick Wright, and I'm not even going to point out I'm not doing the I played and my dad played and coached and my brother, don't even need all of that. The reality of it is that the transformation of Scottie Pippen's image and how he played is very similar to Pau Gasol with the Lakers.
So you heard what Doug Gottlieb had to say. So now we finally have the evidence that Nick Wright is represented by Klutch Sports. You see, Nick, that's the problem with you. We know you're a grifter. We know you're a clown. We know this. But for whatever reason, you couldn't help yourself. We see you always taking shots at Jordan. We see the way you slandered Kobe Bryant all over. We saw that. But this particular time, you just couldn't hold yourself back. You gave that ridiculous take on First Things First, and you didn't leave it there. You went on Colin Cowherd's show and repeated the same nonsense, which caused people that even work with you to take a closer look at you. And Doug Gottlieb, just in passing, reveals that you're represented by Klutch Sports. So what does this actually mean to the layman watching this show here? Some people are like, well, I don't see what the big issue is. I'll tell you what the big issue is. Nick Wright being represented by Klutch Sports is tantamount to finding out that I, or Dreamerspro, is being sponsored under the cover by Jordan Brand. How would you feel about the positions that I took about Michael Jordan if you found out that Michael Jordan's agency, ad agency, or whatever you want to call it, agency, whatever you want to call it, talent agency, represents Dreamerspro? What would you think about the things that I say about Michael Jordan? The obvious thing you would think is, oh, it's simple. He's being paid by Jordan's company, and that's the reason why he's saying it. And one will then surmise this means that he's only saying these things because they're paying him. And if he wasn't being, not paying him or represented, whatever it is, if he wasn't being represented by these guys, he would probably be saying something else. Now, some people will say, no. Nick Wright would never say something else. He's been consistent, and that's why I got you bozos. About 10 months ago, we produced the show, and I hunted all over the internet today, couldn't find this tweet, where we found a tweet from Nick Wright back in 2011. And in 2011, Nick Wright had some very, very, very interesting things to say about LeBron James. You know, the guy that he calls the GOAT, that he says he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So what we want to do is we want to play a short clip, very short clip from our own show where I read what Nick Wright had to say about LeBron James. Take a listen to that. So let me read what Nick Wright had to say on Twitter back in 2011. He said, on May 27, 2011, in regards to the LBJ versus MJ debate, there is no debate. MJ, greatest player ever. LBJ, not yet in top 10. Could change in a decade, though. Those were Nick Wright's words. Those were his words. So how did all of a sudden in 2016, how did he go from not being in the top 10 or barely being in the top 10? How did he go all the way to number one? And how did Michael Jordan, if you knew in 2011, was the GOAT, how did Jordan drop from number one to number three? None of this, folks, makes any sense whatsoever. So you heard what Nick Wright had to say. Here's the quick. Here's the skinny. Nick Wright is represented by Klutch Sports. We now know this for a fact. Unless some people say Doug Gottlieb's lying because, well, he would lie because, well, maybe he's going to gain an extra $100,000 at the end of the year as a bonus for saying that. So we now know this, which then lets us know that the only reason Nick Wright goes out there and champions LeBron James is because he's being represented by Klutch Sports. Which means that, in my personal view, it disqualifies every single thing that Nick Wright has to say. No wonder you were giving such stupid takes. No wonder. I was wondering what kind of normal person would go up on national television and say that when LeBron won his third championship, that's when he passed my... What normal person would say that? You would have to be out of it to say something that ridiculous. But now it makes sense. Did you hear what else Doug Gottlieb said? He said, I don't think LeBron actually goes out there and calls Nick Wright and say this and this and to say this and this and this and this. But his job is to go out there and promote LeBron. That's his job. Because that's the company that represents him. What are we doing? What are we doing? Here's the thing that I've noticed about sports media as well, and I'm going to point it out. And this is our platform. We're not slandering anybody's name. We're giving our opinion. And what I found out about YouTube is that if you do your content in a classy, clean way, and you're just giving your views, even if they're strong, YouTube will still promote your channel. I've seen it with so many channels. So if the content is high quality, you have nothing to worry about. But I'm going to state my piece here. Here's what I think. I think that these guys are planted in the media to say nice things about LeBron. But I never really had the proof. It was just something we thought. It makes it feel like, and I've always said this, I feel like this is one of the most forced GOAT debates. It's all smoke and mirrors. And LeBron fans, if you guys see this video and you dislike it, you can go ahead and kick the biggest rock you can find. I could give a damn. If we got to sit down and listen to someone put out idiotic statement after statement like Nick Wright on TV, what makes you think I shouldn't have the right to speak? So we got to sit down and listen to that trash on a daily, that nonsense. But then if I put up a point here, then all of a sudden I'm a hater. So what the hell is he? What the hell is he? I always knew it. Nick Wright was always a clown. Always a clown, to the point that I forgot that I just remembered. This is something I've noticed in sports media, and I think it's a bad thing because I think we're playing games. I think us that cover basketball, now some people will say, well, you're not a journalist. How many people are the journalists talking sports? How many people that are journalists right now talking? Is JJ Redick a journalist? Is JJ Redick a journalist? No, he's a former NBA player, right? But he's still talking basketball, right? So why can't somebody else that studies a particular medium do it? Are you telling me that you need to play basketball to be able to understand basketball? But that would be outlandish, wouldn't it be? That would be outlandish. That means Greg Popovich would have never got a job in the NBA. That means Frank Vogel would have never got a job in the NBA. That would be patently absurd to say something like that. People can be self-learned. You can teach yourself things. Now, I do have a background in public speaking. We have trained thousands of people for public speaking. That we've done, yes. But I'm going to speak my piece on this. Here's what I've noticed. I've noticed that in sports media, journalists have no problem calling out athletes. They can call out athletes from morning till from dusk till dawn, but they can never call out themselves. They can never call out themselves. If just because me and this guy, we are in the same field, but he says something I disagree, I can't say anything about him. But if an athlete does something that I disagree with, I can talk about him. What kind of level of hypocrisy? So really, who are you beholden? So let me get it straight. We're going to be honest about the athletes for our audience, but when even our counterparts are saying ridiculous things, we're not going to say anything. Because of what? Oh, because we don't want to break the code. So then how can we be upset and go at athletes for saying that, oh, they're too nice to one another? How can we do? This is the reason why Charles Barkley is the best. This is the reason why Charles Barkley is the best. He calls it straight down the line. Straight down the line. Whether if you're a reporter, he called these jackasses on TV. He even called some of them by name, like Skip Bayless. This is why he's the best. He's not up there twerking it up for the next guy. He understands that the reason he's on television is for his audience. Your colleague is not the one paying your bills. The day people realize that, maybe the discussion will change. But in terms of Nick Wright, I'm so happy that I know that now it has been verified that you're a clown. I am so happy that I know that I never ever have to take anything seriously by somebody being represented by Klutch to give us their honest take about Michael Jordan, about Kobe Bryant, about LeBron James. The guy's a joke. And I felt like it was important that we put this information out there. At least now we know. At least now we know. You go look up the talent agencies that manage us and see if you see Michael Jordan or anybody else up there. What a joke. What a clown. You went too far because you couldn't stop yourself from saying those silly things to the point where even one of your own colleagues working at the same company as you said, hold up, wait a minute. This is ridiculous. And as he was speaking, he said, Nick is represented by Klutch Sports. Wow, what a bozo. What a bozo. So you really believe Will LeBron to go, right? Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think. And if you don't like what you can unsubscribe. I don't care. The fact of the matter is we're going to say what we believe here. We're going to say what we believe. If somebody disagrees with me, if they don't like our content, go out there and make a video and say, hey, I think Charles and those guys, they're trash. Whether it's somebody big, no problem. But just say what you believe. Say what you truly believe. If you're not going to say what you truly believe, then I have no respect for you. Not especially when you're making millions of dollars and you running around afraid to say exactly what you think. That's what I think. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comment section, and we'll catch you guys on the next show.